Yeah, steadily progressive, this horse, Archbishop, and has some really strong form lines. Second on each of his last couple of starts. Just worry about the way that he drifted left at Newmarket and threw that race away, but some of his form is strong and he's quite a big price.
If we move over to the right-hand side, we can pick up the top weight. He's top weight because he's carrying a Group 3 penalty for his win in the Craven Stakes earlier on this year. He was reported to have been coughing after disappointing in the Irish 2000 Guineas, his Trumpet Major.
And his form prior to that was really strong. He looked impressive in the Craven. Admittedly, he says strong form. That race didn't really work out, but then he ran a perfectly respectable fourth in the 2000 Guineas at Newmarket. Beaten favourite in the Irish 2000, but had an excuse. Dropping grade will help him. He's got that penalty to carry, but I definitely think that he has got real solid claims based on the way that he picked up in that Craven. I think that his style of racing might really seem to take well to this track.
OK, back over to the right-hand side and pick up Ptolemaic. Maybe we do him quite briefly. He's visored. He seems really to have been exposed at this kind of level.
Yeah, he's had a few chances really as Ptolemaic. He's been beaten in the Jersey, he was beaten in the Guineas behind Trumpet Major in the Craven as well, so he's been held by that horse on a couple of occasions. He's one of those you can see him running well into 4th, 5th or 6th, but it's hard to really envisage him troubling the principals in terms of winning the race.
OK, let's go back up this way and move towards them, because we've only got, with the amount of racing we've got today, we've only got a limited amount of time to look at the selection of them in the paddock. So we'll pick up, I think, Al-Jamaahir is the one I'd really like to look at. He's number 2 here, who was 3rd in the Jersey Stakes last time. Yeah,
and that was a good run and a level of form that would give him a chance. Going up in trip for the first time, 7 to a mile this afternoon. Should stay based on his pedigree and his win at Newmarket the time before. That would give him a chance as well, though the form of that race probably not especially strong. Nice looking horse though.
He is a nice looking horse, and the horse behind him, number 4, is a big brute of a horse, Born to Surprise.
Very, very tall, Born to Surprise. Looks really well in himself as well. Progressing, but much, much more needed, and looks to be in at the deep end here.
Yeah, I think he's been very ineffectively campaigned. If we move back to the right-hand side, we can find Gregorian. There he is, the steel grey. This is the last one we'll take a look at, and he's dropping down in grade. He's run really well in Group 1 company twice.
Yeah, he's run second in the...
Apologies for that. We're back at Goodwood. We thought you'd like to just have a look at Thirsk, see how it's looking. Al-Jamaahir 4-1 joint favourite with Gregorian. Trumpet Major 5s, 11-2 stipulate. Archbishop 10s and 10s Red Duke. Coup de Ville is 12s. It's 14s Tales of Grim. Saigon is 25s. 33s Born to Surprise. Ptolemaic is at 33s. 66-1 Ewell Place. Silver Heels. 100-1 Miblish.
Now, we didn't do all of them in the paddock, so we'll try and pick up those that we didn't out on the course. And one of those is Gregorian, who's just getting a lead from Ptolemaic to the start. He's steadily improving. He's 3rd in the St James's Palace Stakes, 2nd in the John Pratt behind Aesop's Fables. That's dropping grade for him here. Those are 2 good runs in Group 1 races.
Yeah, and he goes quite comfortably through his races. He travels well, so I think that he's definitely got the class to be competitive in Group 1 company. He's proven that, and he's got a couple of drops in grade here, down to a Group 3, so he's definitely the horse to beat, I think, here. He sets the standard on form. That drop in grade will help him. The fact that he travels so well through his races, I think, will help him around this track as well. Don't think it's a track where you've got to have a bit of tactical speed, because there are parts of the track where you're really they're kind of on their head and running away from themselves almost, and it's a speed horse track essentially, for all that there are stiffer elements to it, as Kieran Fallon was saying in the interview a little bit earlier on. But he's got loads and loads of strong pieces of form. John Gosden, William Buick continue to have a fabulous season, so you kind of look at Gregorian and struggle to pick too many holes in him, and I personally think that he should be a shorter price than Al-Jamaahir. His form has, to my mind, significantly more substance to it than Al-Jamaahir's. Al-Jamaahir's another one who's improving, and the step up in trip might suit him based on pedigree, but he's another horse who's a little bit easy, free going, if anything. He can do a little bit too much, and that might be a worry up in trip.
Yeah, I agree. On pedigree, you'd be sure that he'd be fine stepping up in trip, but I know what you mean about the way he comports himself, really, but I just feel like he's a sort of maybe a slow learner. I felt that things are getting better a little bit with him all the time. Tales of Grim we should talk about. You're against him. I'm a little bit more of the mind that dropping back down to a mile is going to suit. I know that Ryan Moore, talking about him in his Betfair column, has said that he's been a little bit disappointing with him, but he retains hope that he'll be able to fulfil the potential he thinks he has.
Yeah, I'm open to the idea that I might have him completely wrong. I'm basing it on his pedigree as much as anything, because I thought that his pedigree suggested that 10 furlongs would be his trip, and they were quite keen to get him up to that distance quite quickly and give him a go at it. He ran below form there, but he improved again. He wasn't able to make an impact at the Royal Meeting, but he's steadily improving and he's unexposed, so there's probably a little bit more to come, and it might be that improvement is found over this return to a shorter trip.
And Coupe de Ville is a solid character. He's performed consistently well this season without quite being good enough to get involved in the races he's run in.
Yeah, he was behind Archbishop a couple of starts ago. He's run last time out at Windsor. That was a reasonable run because Thistlebird was quite impressive at Ascot on its next start, so that's stacking up. He's another one, as you say, he's very solid and consistent. He's one of those that his form seems to have levelled out, and I think that he probably just needs to improve a bit, and given that he keeps running the same race, I'm not sure if he will.
I think Red Duke is quite high in the market. It sort of surprised me quite how high and prominent he is, but I'm sure I'll be about to be proved wrong. So not many more to go forward for our Thoroughbred Stakes, sponsored by RSA. Let's join Richard.
The RSA Thoroughbred Stakes field are all just about loaded away. And they're off and racing. Jumping out alertly, Archbishop from wide out, and also being sent forward is Miblish. Closer to the rails, Ptolemaic, Trumpet Major show up in company with Red Duke. Al Jammer here is settled towards the rear of the field early on. So out in front, Ptolemaic, Keen from Miblish and the white face of Archbishop. They're being tracked by Gregorian. Born to Surprise is caught wide without cover, pursuing the pace at this stage with Coupe de Ville. Then Ewell Place, Red Duke, Trumpet Major well back. Al Jammer here, another who's towards the rear early on. On the inside of Stipulate, then Saigon, on the back two are Silver Heels, and also towards the rear tails of Grim. Born to Surprise has swept round the field to pursue Ptolemaic. The pace has been pretty solid throughout. Miblish and Red Duke, with Archbishop now back in 5th place. Trumpet Major's making ground on the rails, with Al Jammer here also taking the brave route. Gregorian, by contrast, has more options out towards the centre of Ewell Place in 7th, 8th and 9th, that little cluster. Stipulate also closer to the rails, the pink cap, so several of the big guns here are going to need breaks up the inside rail. It's Ptolemaic who leads, Born to Surprise pushed along into 3rd place, a fight for Trumpet Major and Al Jammer here for that rail route. Red Duke blocks the path. Stipulate, several horses looking for gaps here at crucial stages. Miblish, Archbishop, Al Jammer here meets lots of trouble on the inside with Trumpet Major coming through there strongly now. Trumpet Major is poised to pounce the white face of Archbishop. Then Miblish Stipulates out in the clear. Al Jammer here is now trying to run on once more. Trumpet Major, Archbishop, Stipulate, Al Jammer here out in the clear, thundering home. Trumpet Major and Archbishop, Trumpet Major, Archbishop are nostrils apart. Al Jammer here a luckless third ahead of Stipulate in 4th. Miblish, Saigon and Tales of Grim will go to the judge.
That's pretty close. My instinct was that Trumpet Major had got it, but it is actually very close on the line, and I think I'll be waiting on the judge for that. Trumpet Major is number 1, Richard Hughes and Richard Hannon. Archbishop is number 3, Frankie Dettori and Brian Meehan. Al Jammer here was one of many that suffered hard luck against that inside rail, which has been the rock on which many horses' fortunes have been dashed already this week, typically for Goodwood. And Stipulate, who was one of them and got out before Al Jammer here, he's 4th for Tom Quilly and Sir Henry Cecil. The cameraman is convinced that Trumpet Major has got it, but we're still waiting on the judge. Want to be drawn?
I thought Trumpet Major had won it first time through. It looked tighter on the freeze frame, but first impression as they went past was that Trumpet Major had won it on the far side, but we shall see.
Maybe we can have another look at that freeze frame. Trumpet Major is 1.64 on the exchanges. We can have a look at the closing stages, or at least the freeze frame, which is of course something that everybody on course can't do because they've got the revolving photo finish icon. Thanks, Racing for Change. Right, this is the break at the start, and Trumpet Major gets an inside rail posse, but in the straight. Oh, here's the result.
The photo finish for first place. First is a dead heat between numbers 1 and 3.
Trumpet Major and Archbishop. They're sharing the spoils in the RSA Thoroughbred Stakes. Richard Hannon and Richard Hughes, Brian Meehan and Frankie Dettori, Trumpet Major and Archbishop all have dead heated in first place for this Group 3. So let's take a look at what happened to them in the run. Archbishop was keen in the early stages, but is taken back by Frankie Dettori to sit in about 5th. On the inside, in about 6th, is Trumpet Major, but Richard Hughes angles him slightly off the inside inside rail at the top of the straight, and that is significant, I think, for his chances.
That was a really clever move that Richard Hughes just made. He was seeing the potential trouble coming. He didn't want to get him too far back, and he wanted to give himself options, didn't he? And that's exactly what he's done. I didn't notice that first time through. You miss plenty in races at Goodwood as you watch them first time through, but that's a really canny move from him. He keeps the horse covered up, and I suppose that Archbishop, the horse that he dead heats with in the end, gets first run on him to an extent by coming out, but he is a horse who they can unleash a turn of foot on him late, and Richard Hughes does this kind of ride on a regular basis round here at Goodwood, and it's essentially come off again with a dead heat. He's got his horse in front of the line exactly the same time as Archbishop. He's giving weight to that horse, and I think that if he'd have just got out a little bit sooner, he might well have beaten him. That said, I think there was a time when Trumpet Major had got to the front, and Archbishop has really battled. For a horse who threw it away at Newmarket a couple of starts ago, he's put his head down and he's come back at him.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think Archbishop was initially outpaced as well, and although he did get first run on Trumpet Major, Richard Hughes then waited with him, holding his position nicely. I think Trumpet Major's had every chance to win this outright, and in the end, Archbishop has just joined him on the line, and they're just locked together. The hard luck story is clearly Al Jamahir, who actually nipped through on the inside of Trumpet Major when Richard Hughes made that canny move off the rail. So actually he was next to him, but only found trouble inside the final furlong and a half.
Yeah, he is definitely unlucky. He's had no kind of run, and you've got to think that he would have gone very close and probably won the race, even with a clear run there. Red Duke has come back to some kind of form. Gregorian is disappointing. He was outpaced some way out